initiatives in building capacity. This is not a sales presentation. I'm here actually to share some of the perspectives. It's nice to see a lot of CEOs here, and they touched upon the right topic of challenges in recruitment. So this is something around that. But before that, I actually wanted to share some interesting data. Just to give you some idea, India is actually fastest growing internet population in the world today. We have about 190 million users. Earlier people used to, I'm just thinking of about 10 years ago, both the government and service providers were tracking this data very, very closely, but the numbers were not growing like how China or other countries were growing. But at some point of time, people lost interest and they moved to the telecom side. But if you look at the data, recent data, we are the fastest growing, 190 million. And third largest internet population behind China and US. That's actually a big number. If you look at it, more than 15% of our population is having access to internet. 40 million Indians are online every day. That's actually a big number. I do not know whether we had time to look into this data, but when you look at it, this actually throws a lot of insights. First million, 100 million, and second 100 million, there is a big difference between what kind of population that is getting into the internet access. If you look at the next 100 million, it's primarily rural. A lot of rural population is getting access, and they are using internet more and more. So from 30%, 50% of the users, new users are coming in are rural. And in terms of the women usage, actually it's gone up to 35% users are women. More vernacular languages are coming into play. So why am I sharing this data? First, I just want to show you that the whole idea is that India is embarking into the technology world, and the old myths that is there access, are there people with access, those questions are slowly fading away. And from the government side, we had a lot of presentations today, and a lot of challenges were also highlighted. The good part is that there is huge investment going into infrastructure to help people get access. And if you look at it, most of the villages are getting connected. More than 40,000 public internet access have come into play. There are huge e-governance initiatives coming in from various state and central governments. The question is that when you have technology permeating into the nook and corner of the world, it is time to leverage that technology. Okay. So this presentation is going to focus specifically on recruitment. I'm getting into something very specific, but this is if you look at it, if the government is talking about e-governance, first is recruiting the right resources, training them, and then improving the services to citizens. There are different parts. It's actually, when you say e-governance, it's huge, massive. We can pick up a very specific topic and discuss about it. I'm going to share some perspectives only on the first part, that is on recruitment of right resources. So we are straight away getting into the recruitment examinations that are currently being held across the country in government departments or quasi-government departments. What are the challenges? You would have seen that, at least if you pick up your newspapers, every week you will someone talking about, frauds and delays that are actually affecting the examinations that are being conducted. What kind of issues? First is question, when there is a printed question paper, it is moving into the examination center, it gets leaked out. We have seen in papers that, some question papers got picked up right from bank lockers. It has happened in one of the states. Actually in one state it happened twice within a period of 1 month. So this is one kind of issue that we are facing. The other one is that impersonation that is getting into the examination. While we may have been having impersonation as an issue for over a long time, with the government jobs becoming really high profile, people are looking after government jobs, it's sought after, it's important that the person who is actually writing the examination is the one who is joining. Because these are the people who are going to get into those positions and help citizens on those various programs. So it's important to hire the right candidates. The result processing also another very key area where technology has to permeate, and there are tools available to ensure that it is being right. Whatever I said, see, I just picked up some of the paper cuttings that have been coming in. If you pick up the paper, every week or every 15 days, you will see some note coming there with respect to frauds around examinations. So, what the industry has done? First is that large number of organizations have adopted the technology in online application. There are different buckets here shown, 1, 2, 3, 4. First one is when the candidate is applying, please use technology. There is a lot of departments that have used online application as a methodology. I could think of only about 5 or 10% of the departments still sticking to the old style of paper-based applications, with certain assumptions that if there is a village user or if there is a poor boy, he may not be able to use the internet. Actually, those myths are going away because they are all better. If you can use your mobile phone, people can use the internet and then can apply online. So the first part, what is shown there, is being implemented. I think it's really successful. People have understood that you can bring in a lot of transparency and accountability in online applications. The second one, I'm talking about the computer-based tests. Few bodies have picked up, or few government institutions have picked up, and then they are implementing. We saw some examples today. The third one, when the candidate is writing the examination, a biometric authentication of a candidate, it's not permeated. Maybe in few medical examinations, this technology is being used and not everywhere. And so there is there is scope for using the technology. Now coming back to that second box that is shown here, what's the challenge? Whenever the government officer or some people, when they think of moving the examinations to the computer-based test, they think that this is the way we have been doing our paper-based exam, so we will exactly replicate the same process into computer-based tests. I think that is, it's important for us to think that what the technology can offer and how we can optimize and improvise the way the examinations are conducted, and there is no need to exactly move the process of paper and pen into the computer-based mode. The issue here is, if there is an exam where about, say, 5 lakh, 10 lakh takers are there, the administrator is hesitating to move it into computer-based tests for one reason, that, will I get 10 lakh computer terminals? Because he's thinking that when the paper and pencil was taken, all 10 lakh students or candidates took the test on one single day, one question paper. I'll have to do it the same way. It's not possible. So drop the computer-based test, go ahead with your paper-based test. This is what is happening in most of the recruitment-based examinations. We will see some examples on why the thought process could be slightly changed in line with some of the best practices that are being done today. And we can bring in a lot more transparency, accountability, and candidate convenience. Actually, that is one most important point being, people are forgetting that point. Candidate convenience is top priority across the world wherever you go, because they're also your customers at the end of the day when they're coming and paying and writing a test. So that also has to be kept in mind. Okay, so let me pick up some examples of what people have done. Before going there, I just want to give you some names. Most of us are aware of this name, USMLE. One will have to clear if you will have to practice medicine in the United States. It's one of the top of the line examinations. We are aware of SIT, we are aware of GRE and GMAT. These exams are conducted, high profile exams, throughout the year. It's not that all of us assemble in one day, in one batch, they write the examination. No, they don't write the same question paper. Not necessary. Still, those scores are valid, and valid for admissions into some of the high profile institutions across the world. If that is the kind of stake available, there are solutions available for recruitment into some of the government departments by conducting the examination in different batches. So let me pick up some examples. I've shown two examples there. First one is actually a largest municipal corporation in the country, and the second one is an institution that recruits scientists for agricultural research. Both of them have conducted multi-batch examinations, maybe batches of about 40 or 50 for recruitment. One of them actually did a vernacular typing test along with a multiple choice question paper, and they were able to put in different question papers, and later equate them and put it in such a way that the results are fair for all candidates. And these methods are today actually even approved by the courts. So the point that what I want to bring in here is that the multi-batch exams first is simple to administer. You are bringing an automatic redundancy into the system. For some reason, I just want to give an example that if you are making 10 lakh people to come on one single day. Today there is a news item in the paper, today or yesterday, that one very large police recruitment has been cancelled. This just came up. And there was another news item where a very large examination body where 30 lakh people were supposed to take the examination. The previous day night, they got to know that question paper was leaked and the whole exam was cancelled. It's whose money? It's our taxpayers' money. Close to about 25 to 30 crore kind of money was wasted. And when this is happening, assume that in one corner of the country, if there is a riot and a set of students are not able to, or candidates are not able to take the exam, will you do it all over again? I don't think these high-risk examinations need to be attempted when the technology is providing you alternate solutions, viable solutions, better solutions, and you're not doing it for the first time, and worldwide it's being followed. So what we are saying is that run on a multiple batch examination. You can bring in security and you can ensure accuracy and the results are valid. So these are the two examples that I spoke. One is on one is on scientists for the agricultural research being done. This was done about 2-3 years ago in the country, and it's well accepted. The other one what I spoke was municipal corporation. So the point here is that technology is a tool, and if you can use it effectively, that's going to bring in a lot of benefits, and there are a lot more opportunities for the departments to use it better.